Hey folks, we're starting YouTube memberships. If you want access to emojis, polls, behind-the-scenes videos, and other perks, check out and see if you want to become a member. And come check us out at C2E2. Hope to see you there. Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to. In 1999, Galaxyquest was released. While the Star Trek parody was a modest hit among critics and audiences, over time, it grew quite a following. With a documentary about it being made, fans voting it the 7th best Star Trek movie. And even David Mamet declared there are 4 perfect movies: Godfather, A Place in the Sun, Dodsworth, and Galaxyquest. That's right, Galaxyquest and Godfather are on the same level for one of our most celebrated writers. What am I missing? Make no mistake, I like this movie. I can't be the first one to call it Three Amigos meets Star Trek, but I like Three Amigos and I like Star Trek. Everything seemed to work fine, the cast is good, the jokes are decent, it had a gentle heart to it. But man, when you use the G word for film buffs, you can't back down from that. You have to mean it. Now, with that said, I think it's clear the idea is these films are perfect for what they are. Galaxyquest didn't change cinema, but for many, it did its job as perfectly as could be done. And well, like I said, I do enjoy the film, I just don't see it on the same level as others do. Now, this isn't me trying to look down on anyone scoffing, "Ugh, why can't you have the genius mind of someone who thought Morbius was okay?" I legit want to understand why this film has such a strong connection with people and why they hold it so close to their hearts, even all these years later. To be fair, I haven't seen the film since it came out, so maybe I'll understand now that time has passed why it's so unique. So 25 years later, let's look at why some diehard fans never gave up and never surrendered. This is an old relic talking about an old relic about old relics. This is Galaxyquest. The film opens with an excerpt from the corny TV show Galaxyquest. As mentioned before, clearly a parody of the original Star Trek and Next Generation series. I do love Weaver's wardrobe combining both the miniskirts of the original and Troy's out-of-uniform attire for no particular reason.
I'd appreciate it if you wore a standard uniform when you're on duty.
Oh my God!
Well, there you are!
As the credits roll, we see this as a clip at a convention where the actors from the show are becoming tired of being known only for this series, including Gwen, played by Sigourney Weaver, and Alexander, played by Alan Rickman. The only one who seems to enjoy it is Jason, played by Tim Allen, who respects the attention he gets but not the people giving it, as he constantly shows up late.
They really do love him.
Yeah, almost as much as he loves himself.
Well, I think this is way too harsh and obvious commentary on Walter Koenig. We all know about his ego, but the man's a legend! Oh my god, the voice of Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks!
In the Quasar dilemma, remember you used the auxiliary of deck B for gamma override. The thing is, blueprints clearly indicate that deck B is independent of the guidance matrix.
As someone who's now been on the other side of that table, I can vouch, we remember every single solitary detail about what we filmed, and if we say we don't, it's because we personally hate you. He's approached by what he thinks are more fans, led by Mathesar, played by Enrico Calatoni, who claim they're Thermians from another galaxy who needs the team's help.
We are Thermians from the Klaatu Nebula, and we need your help.
And you know, that voice is either gonna do it for you or it's not. When I first saw it got on my nerves, but looking back, it does sound like an alien translator trying to emulate our way of speaking with a unique accent we've never heard before. It's an accent that's hard to describe too. The best description I've heard is melodic yet monotone.
Please, Commander, you are our last hope.
It's like if Stephen Hawking's voice box was trying to sing. It kinda grew on me. Jason constantly tries to hit on Gwen, who was an old fling, but now wants nothing to do with him. And I never put together that while he's constantly surrounded by her, he can never actually get the real thing. It's a subtle touch. First big error in the movie, if you're a guest at a con, you never use the urinals. You don't even look over there, man. Every interaction would be,
Keep your eye on the road, Dick.
But when he hears 2 kids bad-mouthing him and calling him a has-been, he instantly gets depressed.
There is no quantum flux. There's no auxiliary. There's no goddamn shit.
Years of academy training wasted.
Not gonna lie, I thought the scene would be a little funnier if he just said,
There's no auxiliary. There's no god. You got it?
and yes, I will admit that is one of the problems I have with the movie. I feel like it could go meaner. In fact, that was the original idea. The film was supposed to be much darker and mean-spirited, even earning an R rating at first. You can still see snippets of that version left behind here and there.
Well, screw that! Well, screw that! Well, screw that!
That ain't what you said. I love Star Trek, but I admit when it comes to mocking it, I'm of the mindset the more cynical the better. Rip it apart, show why this utopian future doesn't make sense, point out the ethical inconsistencies, make fun of how often this perfect world building doesn't follow its own rules. And doing so doesn't mean you hate Star Trek, quite the opposite. It means it struck a chord with you that you hold dear and love to talk about. And you love it even when you hate it. I personally find all that more interesting. But that's not what this film is trying to be, and I should accept that. This movie lightly mocks the Star Trek world and the people who made it. In fact, if you've never heard of Star Trek, you could watch this film and still enjoy it. It's very clever that way. But most audiences know what they're doing. Hell, it was voted the 7th best Star Trek movie. And I think it's trying to be a loving homage that keeps the same optimism and hope as the series, while also offering a playful jab at the fans and actors. I just think comedy's funnier when you jab a little harder, but I should judge it on what it is and not what I want it to be. With that said, the film does want to balance it with a fair amount of drama too. And all the actors very smartly play it straight. Despite him being a little sleazy, you do sympathize with Jason and his obsession over the glory days of his career. He gets so depressed he drinks his Glenlivet with ice. Buddy, you don't know what you're doing! His alien friends from before drop by and he thinks they're there to take him to another gig.
Sir, I am Lank. Please let me know if you have any requirements. Weapons, documents, personnel.
Dwight, you ignorant slut!
Jason sleeps as they take him to the space station he thinks is all a set. Again, maybe a hint of the R-rated version sneaks in here and there.
Saris is the bad guy, right?
Oh, yes, sir. He is a very bad man who captured our females for his own demented purposes.
Hey, come on, this is perverted Star Trek, not perverted Star Wars! He fires on their enemy thinking it's all fake, but when they send him back home, that's when he realizes he's in the real deal. This is also where you might realize while it is a parody of Star Trek, it's not bit for bit. This way of transporting people has a beaming feel, but it is uniquely its own. Even some of the tropes they mock are not directly from Star Trek, but feel like they could be.
Systems register functional.
All systems are working, Commander.
Like Gwen just repeating what the computer says isn't exactly the same as Troy saying what a person is feeling, or Uhura being the interpreter, but it's in the same vein. You could also argue it's similar to taking all the technobabble and reducing it down to something simple.
New source of beryllium must be secured.
We need another one.
Like putting too much air in a balloon!
Part of the reason why people might gravitate towards this movie is that it does an okay job building a world that tips their hat to Star Trek, but still has its own rules and details.
If you found the Omega-13
After he bumps into a fan from earlier mixing up their communicators, he tries to tell the team about what he experienced, along with the Thermians asking him to return.
Do you really think he was talking about a job?
You know, for someone who hates this character so much, it is weird he never takes off that makeup. Actually, I kinda like that, as if he's so used to it, he forgets he even has it on. Like the character is a part of him whether he likes it or not. Similar to what Leonard Nimoy went through with Spock. All of them are transported to the space station, including an old extra named Guy, played by Sam Rockwell. Wait, I'm not used to this. Creatures that are actually there? Clearly we need CG to flatten and blurry it up. And quips about holes. Yeah, you remember Holes? Everybody was quoting Holes. That movie was a hole.
Our most sincere apologies.
These are actually the Thermians when not in human form, as the last one to join is Fred, played by Tony Shalhoub.
That was a hell of a thing.
And like most Tony Shalhoub characters, I don't know why he is the way he is, I just love that he is.
Since we first received transmission of your historical documents.
You've been watching the show?
Historical documents.
No, it's not like sci-fi fans at all. It isn't historical documents, it's biblical text. They think it's so real they even recreated the ship. And I will say, everybody's motivations feel right as to why they would go along with it. Jason was feeling like a nobody, but clearly loves the attention of a hero. Alexander can give the performance of a lifetime, literally fooling people. Tommy can grow up to finally do his part as a man. Fred is clearly just along for the ride. Guy is finally gonna be a major part of the story and not just an extra that dies. And Gwen is there too. Okay, 5 out of 6 ain't bad.
Take us out.
Excuse me?
They designed those controls after watching you.
They're also allowed to say, "Shut up, Tommy," at any point. After a literal shaky start, the ship is off and they find out their enemy wants a device called the Omega-13. The Thermians' last commander was killed in a horrific way trying to get information about it, which scares a lot of the crew away.
If you have any mercy within you, please, let me die.
Again, I think I would have loved the R-rated version of this, like maybe an eyeball and whatever Thermian private parts look like splattered on the screen would have made the runoff funnier. Even the G-rated Bugs Life had a drawing of the horrors they were going to encounter. Come on, you can push it a little further.
Your presence is required on the command deck.
As they try to leave, Saris shows up though, making it impossible for them to escape.
How you doing?
Better than my lieutenant.
Okay, some of your R rating is shining through, I respect that. They of course muck up the negotiations and Saris ends up firing on them. They lose him in a minefield, but the ship and crew have taken major damage.
I'll take him to medical quarters.
Thanks, Matheson.
Still like him better than Wesley. Hey folks, I'll be playing Final Fantasy VII every Friday on Twitch. I've never played a Final Fantasy game before, so I'm excited to see what they're like. Hope to see you there. Our heroes try to confess they're not the characters from TV, but the Thermians don't seem to follow, leading to maybe the funniest line in the film.
Surely you don't think that Gilligan's Island is a...
Those poor people.
Almost as sad as that political documentary. But now the sitcom about the two old guys who can't talk running things? That was hilarious! They find a planet that might contain energy to fuel their ship, so they head on down there to see what they can find. They approach some creatures that at first seem cute, but later are... not.
Look at the bones!
They get the energy source, but Jason is accidentally left behind as he fights with Alexander.
Heaven forbid anybody else gets the spotlight. Oh no, Jason Nesbitt.
Apparently that's what those actors want to do to each other sometimes. Rickman and Alan came from very different backgrounds, and Rickman was often dismissive of Alan's more laid-back attitude against his constant prepping. The two did quickly become friends, but I guess it wouldn't be a Star Trek-type production without somebody shouting, "That actor's an asshole!"
We're gonna use the digital conveyor.
It has never been successfully tested.
What did he say?
Hold, please.
You know, I think I figured out the major problem with the movie. It is likable, but I don't laugh much at it. And again, I think that might be an issue with the editing. Jokes are paced weirdly. Like, look at these two jokes back to back.
Not look back! All right, it's always about you, isn't it?
They're okay, right? Except that's how I edited them. This is how they played in the movie.
Don't look back! Not look back!
We're not gonna make it!
All right. Of course, it's always about you, isn't it?
See what I mean? Isn't the timing on those a little off? Again, though, that's probably due to the film very quickly being slashed down to a PG. I doubt this was how it was meant to be originally. And man, when he has to battle this rock creature, I really wish he could say something better than,
Oh, darn.
you know, they have translators in this. Can't they translate what the R-rated version would have been? Maybe ironically it would translate out to me. They eventually get the transporter working, but it looks like Saris has taken over.
At every turn, you demonstrate the necessity for your extermination.
Yeah, and I'll just say it, Saris is a really boring villain. Star Trek villains are usually great, and even when they're not super deep, they're still pretty entertaining. But aside from the impressive effects on this guy, he's pretty dull. I either need him to be really funny or really scary, and while he does a bunch of violent stuff, he sounds like the voice you give a bad guy when you're reading a story to your kids.
Do you think I'm a fool? That the commander does not know every bolt, every weld in his ship?
And then the big bad wolf said, "All the better to eat you with, my dear, raw!" And of course, we need our liar reveal third act where the truth comes out and nothing funny happens and everyone acts really mopey. Though to Enrico's credit, his heartbreak is perfectly harsh.
We don't have a ship.
There it is.
That ship is that big.
Inside I've seen many rooms.
Next you'll tell me the tragedy of Alf never took place. No, really, have you seen that finale? It is dark. They're about to be shot into space when they stage a fight to fake out the guards. Well, I'm a murderer. Cool. They contact the fan from earlier and tell him what every die-hard fan wants to hear. Everything he obsessed over is real.
I understand completely that it's just a TV show.
It's all real.
Oh my god, I knew it. I knew it! I knew it!
Now I just have to convince people that Pizzagate was real and...
Yeah, we gotta go.
They get some info about the Omega-13 and discover it can rearrange matter 13 seconds in the past. Yeah, I'm sure we'll never hear from that again. Anyway, Alexander teams up with his biggest fan to free the others. And I will admit, this death really cracks me up.
I'm shot.
Just like an episode... Alexander says the line he hates to say from the show, and by God, he says it like he's telling his dying son he loves him for the first time.
By Grabthar's hammer, you shall be avenged.
I don't know what any of that means, but it's gonna make me cry! This, of course, sends him into a vengeful rage as he takes out the guards and the crew returns to the bridge. They bring some of the magnetic mines with them and take out Saris's ship. Oh, by the way, yeah. But Saris sneaks aboard and kills everybody. Yeah, what if that thing they said a minute ago does time travel? It's gonna do time travel.
Jason, before the black hole...
Of course! Only the person that pushes it remembers what happened! That's detailed Omega-13 logic we just learned about! This is basically a cartoon. A perfect cartoon, I don't know.
The ship is too big to enter the atmosphere.
They say their goodbyes as they have to separate their ship and they land on Earth. Where else? At the convention.
Commander Peter Chrissy Taggart!
Pointless return number 2! Yeah, I could have cut him returning both times and not really miss anything, but the fans seem to like it. And you know, maybe that's the secret. It's a Star Trek movie for fans that's not a Star Trek movie for fans. I still don't see it as a perfect film, as I feel like the jokes have good ideas, but rarely get that many laughs out of me. A lot of that is due to the awkward timing and editing that was probably a rush job due to quickly trying to make it family friendly. But taking that out of it, which yes, is a lot to ignore for a comedy, there is an optimistic kindness about it. Now, that doesn't mean it's always happy and upbeat. If anything, true optimism is aware of the dangers and chooses to still be positive. And that's what this film presents. It's not as dark as I would like it, but it does incorporate a lot of messy deaths and threats that gives it, okay, a soft edge, but still an edge. I was talking about how I wanted the film to be a little meaner to the franchise and sci-fi and fandoms and so forth, but honestly, looking back, it is kind of refreshing that it doesn't. There's enough infighting and snobbery and pissed off people in these fandoms, so it is kind of nice seeing a film where the fans are weird but helpful. The heroes are aggravated, but find the love for what they inspired. And their series is flawed, but still brings joy in a meaningful way. For as much as we get lost in the annoyance of fandom, this film does celebrate why many of us become fans to begin with. And appropriately enough, create new fans with this film. Like I said, I think it's far from perfect, but the characters all have arcs, the world is inventive, and the love for what it's satirizing is felt in every frame. It's just so happy in what it is that I can't help but feel happy for what it is too. I'm the Nostalgia Critic guy, remember? So you don't have to. We're continuing cameos for charity, and all this month, we're donating to the Naperville Humane Society. Why this one in particular? Because it's where my brother Rob got his pet dog, Ellie, and she's pretty adorable. This is a non-profit, limited admission animal shelter for dog and cat adoption, foster care, and owner surrenders. Their mission is to promote the humane treatment of compassionate animals and create lasting human-animal bonds. They seek to deliver services to their community that reflect their integrity, respect, compassion, and joy for all people and animals. So if you want a cameo for me saying hi or happy birthday or whatever, click the link below and be giving to a wonderful organization. If you're like, to hell with that noise, I don't want a cameo from you, well, consider looking at this great organization anyway. Like I said, it does a lot of good, and there's some really great animals you can help out. Check them out and see all the adorableness you've been missing out on.